Hey, everybody. So it's 7 exactly. I think I'll start promptly just because we have a full agenda and we do technically have quorum. The three commissioners who aren't currently on, at least one of them we don't think will be here, and the other two, I know have been dealing with some personal things that might take them away from tonight's meeting. So we'll see. So welcome. Thanks everyone for being here. Tonight is the July 2025 general meeting for ANC 1C representing Adams Morgan. We have like I said, a reasonably full agenda tonight, so I'll do my best to try to balance the importance of hearing from all those who want to comment on any given issue and everyone's time. So we'll just begin quick call to order introductions of commissioners. In what particular order? I don't know. I guess starting with the lowest with numerical, which is technically me for the first time. Peter Wood, I represent 1CO3. That's the single member district, kind of right in the middle from 18th to 19th, Biltmore to Wyoming. Next would be Commissioner Olson here.
Hello, Scott Olson, Commissioner for 1C05, which is the region from the Stop and Shop in Adams Morgan going down to the zoo. I'm getting sorted here for a minute, but I'm A-okay. Over to Linda.
Hey, Commissioner Laughlin, 1CO6, the eastern side of Adams Morgan, and on Linear Place.
David Fucillo, 1C08. That's 16th Street to Ontario and Kalorama to Florida, roughly.
I'm Catherine Swenson-Palmer, and I'm in 1C09. So that's close to the Harris Teeter and HD Cook, near Euclid and 17th Street.
All right, thanks everybody. So first, just consider approval of tonight's agenda. Before we do that, I have three late additions I want to add on the condition that doing so would not be adverse to the neighborhood. Can I get a second to discuss that really briefly?
Second.
All right, so I mean, two of these are just like a day off of the deadline that we are required to follow to have things publicly noticed. But basically, and then the third one just came up. It was a clarification on an agenda item that was already on, but didn't realize that they were looking for us to have an official vote on a requested letter of support that we've done like a trillion times in the past. So that would be A and C. I'm suggesting we put on the consent agenda and I talked to Commissioner Fucillo about that request for support. It's, I think, pretty mundane, and they're just looking for the kind of arbitrary or requested or necessary letter for an ANC support to say that they're okay with these banners going on these light posts for the maximum of time of like 6 months, which I think is because it's a historic district. And then Adams Morgan Day, we're going to hear from them, give an update today, but I don't think we need to really discuss it as a proper item. It's a thing that an event that we've supported in the past. And they're just looking for the permits to be able to host the event. And then the second one is a timely request for an Historic Preservation and Review Board application for a property that I think that their meeting's in mid to late July. So if we don't have an opportunity to do that so tonight, they won't get to have that. So just kind of the way that their schedule came out, I said that we could try to get on tonight. Any questions about those items, those proposed late agenda item additions? All right, all those in favor of making those additions, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So then, any issues with tonight's agenda? All right, I'll move that we affirm tonight's agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we got an agenda. Thanks everyone for bearing through that. So we'll start with officers' reports. I just have one thing as chair. We are soon to have a full commission, of course, barring any other changes, which are always possible. 1C01 has been vacant since former Commissioner Michelson Horowitz stepped aside. There was one person who pulled petitions and submitted petitions and survived the challenge period. So if you don't have any opponent and you don't have anyone challenge your signatures, you get the position. And that person is also a former commissioner, soon to be commissioner, or soon to be re-commissioner, I don't know, Howard Balke. So looking forward to having Howard back, and also crossing our fingers, having all 9 seats represented. And hopefully that will be a good moment for us to kind of take our August recess and figure out some of the kind of housework of just orderly stuff for getting the commission function and committee assignments and all of that in line, just because we've been kind of going through a little bit of turnover, and I think that will hopefully be a good opportunity to do so. Secretary's report, all yours.
Thank you. So there were no PZT or PSE meetings this month, but ABC met on June 11th. July committee meetings I have on the calendar right now: ABC on 7/9 at 7 p.m. PZT 7/16 at 7 p.m. though, as you just mentioned, about turnover, so we'll see updates to come on that. And then I had no PSE meeting on the agenda or on the calendar for July, but Commissioner Laughlin let me know if that's incorrect. As you stated, Commissioner Wood, no committee meetings or commission meetings in August, but we'll be back in September. And then as always, we put up flyers for this meeting at the corner of Adams Mill and Lanier on the bulletin board, and then also at the I almost wanted to call it a kiosk, but the what is the word I'm looking for? The bulletin board that's on the corner near Truist Bank is really what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the kiosk.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if it was the right word. Continuing to post on Nextdoor and groups.io about the committee meetings and also about the commission meetings. And then we have continued to have office hours on Thursdays at the line from 5 to 6. We will continue to do that. They're on the calendar on the website. All are welcome to join. And those are my updates. Thanks.
Treasurer, all yours.
Our current balance in the bank is about $15,000. We have no checks or payments outstanding. My projection for the year remains stable, that we'll end the year with approximately $23,000. I was able to close the archaeology and the community grants, which we gave in April 2024, which had caused some confusion with OANC. We now have no outstanding treasurer-related items with OANC. I'm hoping that this signals the end of ONC's difficulties and financial backlog items and so forth. So we are in the clear, as far as I can tell. This is the end of fiscal year 2025, quarter 3. I expect we're going to receive our quarter 4 allotment in early July. My only note is for the chair, secretary, and myself to make sure that we get the June minutes signed and the QFR signed right after this meeting, if possible. That's all.
Great. Yeah, we'll definitely get that. I think we mentioned this last month. They've been very looking for very quick turnarounds on that for whatever reason. So we'll make it work. All right, commissioner announcements. How about we go in reverse numerical order? Just keep things sort of simple. 1C09. And if you're the chair of a committee, which I guess there's 2 of us here, mention any committee affairs as well.
Okay, thank you. We had a really successful community cleanup in June in 1C09, so shout out to all those who attended. Of course, still not enough to totally curb the negative effects of legal dumping in our neighborhood. So hoping to continue working on that and to keep trash out of the streets. And on that note, I followed up with contacts at DPW again about the status of the litter can replacement in 1C09, whether that's in front of HD Cook or on Mozart. So hopefully I will have an update by the next time we're meeting here. But if folks have questions, please reach out. We also held a 1C09 picnic and meet and greet and hope to do it again when it's less hot. And there will be another community cleanup in September. TBD on August. The heat is, can be oppressive. And so we want to schedule that for a time when people can enjoy picking up trash. But updates to come on that as well. Myself and Commissioner Diamond also tabled at the farmers market, share resources about how to compost and cut down on the rat food supply, and also the bus schedule changes that have now taken effect. And then I was able to testify at the DPW budget hearing regarding the importance of funding for the compost program. So hopefully, that's staying, it seems. And then the last update I have is just residents in 1C09 are still experiencing missed trash collection pickup for weeks on end. And so I have continued to reach out to DPW about this, but if anyone who is listening now is experiencing this problem or knows someone who is, please reach out. I would love to get back to them with a very clear number of households who this is happening to. It seems like it's more every day. And also, commissioners, if you all have had success figuring this problem out, please let me know. And that's it. Thanks.
Perfect. Commissioner Fuchila.
Yeah, so it's been a month and a half now, so still getting to know a lot of the folks in the neighborhood and what's going on. The big things right now, they're the UCal building, EUCKAL, UCal Calorama building that's going up with Jubilee. Right next to that is an alley, and there's a really bad patch of cement job there. And so after some reaching out, I'm gonna sort something out with Washington Gas. They're gonna come and fix it. I just have to figure out when. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way to communicate with all the folks around there because people get blocked in, and that's what led to the problem in the first place. So gonna work on that this week and try and connect with some folks in the area about that. Had a meeting with Terrell from Jubilee, who's obviously going to be on a little later today, about some issues that came up with the intersection right there at the corner of Ontario and Calorama. He was very receptive to the conversation, so feeling good about that. And I think for the time being, we've got a building where there's some issues with trash being left out, and so not a trash pickup issue. So I'm working through that, and again introducing myself to somebody at the building to get a better handle on that. I will turn it over to Commissioner Laughlin.
Hi, so no major SMD updates. I will say, so last month, is it last month? Instead of holding, or no, this month, no, last month, we're in July. Instead of holding a PSE meeting, I joined the office hours that Commissioner Swanson and Commissioner Diamond have set up. And we got to talk a little bit about rats, and we're brainstorming and putting together sort of like a one part survey collection, and then another part using census data to overlap with that to look at some factors. And so I'm thinking that for the next PSE meeting in July, instead of doing online meeting, I'll do another sit-in office hours at the line, and hopefully have some prototypes or demos of some questionnaires to get feedback on. We'd like to do both data collection from residents, but also businesses. And I'm trying to set up some meetings with DOH, with the rodent control office, to sort of see what data points that they are missing from their information, or what data they have that they could provide to us that we could work with to join to the data that we're collecting. So on that front, I know there's a Rat Academy next week. I heard it might be full. I'll put the link in for it because you never know. But I do highly recommend to other commissioners or community members, if this is something you're passionate about and want to learn more about. It's free. It's a free 2-day course taught by a rodent expert, Bobby Corrigan. And those are all my updates.
Scott Olson, 1CO5. I don't have any substantial updates, so I will yield my time in favor of our packed agenda.
Or is this me? Yeah. So Alcoholic Beverage Control and Public Safety Committee, next meeting is next Wednesday. Unless some sort of kind of last minute-ish application for like a liquor license or something comes through, which I guess could happen. I don't anticipate happening. Will be a light agenda, maybe just kind of like was last month, which if anyone wants to attend and has any concerns to raise and wants to discuss, could do so. But if not, it'll be brief. And we'll head to our summer recess, which is always an active recess. We're just not having meetings, but we will be, of course, active in the community. 1CO3, I think the biggest thing that has been semi-quiet, but one of the bigger things that came through, which affects the whole city, of course, is the buses are, different for the first time in 50 years. And in 1CO3, there was one stop that mistakenly had a sign saying the stop was going to be removed. I got some emails about that. Thankfully, some representatives from DDOT were like, yeah, that's not right. Sorry, that got screwed up. I think it's been fixed. But if anyone notices anything else in 1CO3 or otherwise, definitely come to us, and that's kind of our position, is to make sure that those issues are liaised to the appropriate people, because it's a very big adjustment. And of course, I would not expect it to be without wrinkles, because it's a lot of changes, and as we've discussed in past meetings, Adams Morgan was not exactly at the forefront of all of the planning, which is unfortunate. So hopefully the transition to the new bus system can be as painless as possible. I guess that does it for our commissioner announcements, right? So moving on in our agenda, I guess this part usually gets put lower in the agenda, like after the invited guests, but we can do it now if there's not too many people. Otherwise, I might, I don't know, cut it off halfway and just out of respect for the people who are waiting to speak. But if you're here to give any public comments, please raise your hand. This will be the time. Of course, you're free to speak, but if you're able to keep it concise, that would be appreciated. And if not, we'll figure out a way. All right, first hand up, Anthony Robertson from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations. Hi, Anthony, how are you doing? Anthony, how are you doing? If you're speaking, you're on mute. If not,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm over here going. I called myself trying to be real quick.
you're good, you're good.
Hello, everybody. Real quick, we have the Palace Aids and the Berks Road 4th of July parade coming up. Please come out and walk with the mayor. Also, we have for everyone who wants to weigh in on RFK and have your voices heard, we have the hearing coming up on July 29th and 30th, I believe. You can submit testimony. You can testify in person as be at the Wilson Building. I'm going to keep it with that. And by the way, anybody, I heard a couple of trash things. If you have any trash issues, loop me in. I can help escalate all those.
That's great. Thank you so much. We'll be doing that.
I will take any questions if you have time, but let me know.
If anyone has any questions, go ahead. I think we're good. Thanks for everything you do. We know you work hard. Keep it up. It looks like next is Eliza Roche Robinson from Councilmember Nadeau's office. Welcome. How are you doing?
Able to, I guess, show myself or no? It
It's up to
doesn't.
you. Or no? If there's an issue, it's on your end, I think. Not to blame you, but I think that sometimes that happens. But in any case, feel free to speak.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys see me?
We
I
can.
can see myself.
How are you doing?
Okay, awesome. I'm good. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to introduce myself. I am Councilmember Nadeau's new Constituent Services Specialist. So definitely reach out to me if you have, any issues. And I'll be helping with all ANC 1C issues. But I do have a few important updates for the budget and just a few other things that the council member wanted me to mention. So first, the next BYOB or Brienne on Your Block is going to be Wednesday, July 9th from 6 to 8. We'll be in Mount Pleasant. We don't have an exact location just yet, but I'll definitely make sure that you guys have that information soon. And then, of course, as you guys know, the office hours are just a chance to meet one-on-one with the council member for about 10 minutes if you have any issues that she should know about. And then this month for the BYOB, we'll be joined by the Department of Health's rat abatement team, who can help answer any pest-related concerns or issues that you have. And then secondly, the DC budget. So as a chair of the Committee of Public Works and Operations, Councilmember Nadeau championed several changes that reflect what she and our office consistently hear from Ward 1 residents, including improving waste collection, adding over 250 new public litter and recycling cans, expanding composting services, and for the first time, establishing a true public restrooms plan across the district, which is really great because we'll get an additional 4 thrones for a total of 10. Moving on. So for road safety, we've secured funding to enforce laws on fake and expired tags, including the authority to tow, which we know has been a concern. So that's really great. When it comes to social services, the Council Members Committee has helped reverse cuts to affordable housing, TANF or TANF, healthcare, and support for people with substance use disorders. We're also continuing to support the Ward 1 Community Navigators Program, which helps connect residents with critical services in our neighborhoods. Lastly, public safety. So this is still a developing area in the budget, and there are still some ongoing discussions about the future of the violence interrupter programs. The council member is really focused on this and really just to ensure that Ward 1 neighborhoods are not left out as they are being restructured within the budget. And that's all of my updates. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, or I can try to answer something now if we have a little bit of time. And I can also pass along any message that you guys would like me to send to the council member as well. But thank you for the time.
Yeah, that was really great. Thanks for that update. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
Could you just repeat the day of the next brand on your block? I'm so sorry, I missed it.
Yes, I was going very quickly. My apologies. It is July 9th. So I believe that's next week. Yes. From 6 to 8 p.m. and it'll be in Mount Pleasant, but we don't have a location just yet.
I got one quick question. You mentioned thrones, 4 new thrones. Has there been what's the process of like finding locations for that? Or what point in the process are we, I should ask?
I am actually not sure, but I can follow up with you about that.
That'd be cool. I mean, sometimes that's already
Absolutely.
kind of like there's ideas where people want them, but if we can lobby for places, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good question. I'm not sure if they've already decided on where they're going to be, but I'll definitely check in about that.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? Appreciate you being there. I know we've already met, but on behalf of everyone, welcome. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, one more hand up currently. It's Kristen Barton from the Adams Morgan Partnership and Business Improvement District. Welcome, Kristen. How you doing?
Hey, everyone. Good, thanks. We had a walk around this afternoon with a bunch of DDOT colleagues about the Columbia Road Bus Priority Project and some of the impacts. So I'm eager to, I think they're going to be here again tonight to talk about the project. So yeah, so they will be fresh off the street from looking at all of the conflicts that everyone's been experiencing, whether it's bikers or delivery drivers or bus drivers or so hopefully we're going to come up with some solutions to make it all work better. So, because it's been a lot of chaos the last few months. And it's starting to have a real economic impact on our businesses. Businesses are reporting a huge reduction in sales. And one commercial property owner has lost all 3 of her commercial tenants in the last 6 months, and has no prospects. Like nobody is interested in the space because there's no loading anywhere for blocks. So it's becoming a really big deal, and it's going to get worse. So you know, we're eager to find some better solutions. Anyhow, announcements from me. The movie nights were a big success. Thanks to everyone who came out and showed your support. So we had really a fun time partnering with the Sitar Center for one of our last movies, and the winners of their youth development leadership program. There was 3 winners of their Made in DC movies, and it was super fun to show those for one of our last ones. We only showed 4 movies or did 4 movie nights this year because of the renovations to the Marie Reed soccer field, which have started. If folks haven't been down there to see, it's all torn up. I think the goal is to have that finished by the end of the summer before school starts again in August. So they're fast tracking the renovations to the field. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it will all go quickly and the soccer field will be back in use when school starts. So that's everyone's hope, I think. And then starting July 31st, we're going to bring back Admo Vibe. These are the summer concerts that we do in Calorama Park. They'll be on Thursday nights from 6 to 7:30. The July 31st event is going to be a little different. That we are doing in partnership with Jubilee Housing and Monumental Sports in the Jubilee Housing Plaza on the corner. And that's going to be to kind of showcase the new mural that they did for Alex Ovechkin. And we didn't have an opportunity to do an event before, so we're partnering with them to kick off our Admiral Vibe series. We'll have a DJ. There'll be some sponsor booths, and Monumental Sports is going to bring Slapshot, I think, the mascot, and it'll be really fun. So I hope folks will come out. That's July 31st from 6 to 8, I think, in the plaza. And then after that, we'll move back to Calorama Park for the last 3 concerts through the end of August. And then we're starting to plan for Fall Porch Fest. That will be Saturday, November 1st, right after Halloween. And there'll be more information coming out about that soon. But I want people to put that November 1st on your calendars for Fall Porch Fest. And I know the Adams Morgan Community Alliance is here to talk about Adams Morgan Day. So we're looking forward to that event in September. I think that's it for me. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate all those comments and updates. Commissioners, any questions or comments before Kristen goes? Glad to have you here as always.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so we'll move to our invited guests, kind of apropos. So first, from the Department of Transportation, we'll get an update, just kind of post-construction update on the aforementioned or alluded, whatever the proper term is, Columbia Road Northwest Bus Priority Project. So it looks like we have Kevin here to give us a bit of a briefing on that. I think that there's a presentation that's linked in the agenda that was originally going to be presented at a committee meeting, but we ended up shifting around to have him here tonight. Welcome, Kevin. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
All right.
I'm going to try to share my screen if that's possible.
If it's possible, please do. If not, we'll make it possible.
I'm on a different computer than usual, but I'm not seeing a button to share screen.
Make sure you put it onto Canvas. Worst case, I can maybe open up and share my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case. In that moment, there's so much stuff on that screen that I should be careful. Want me to do that, or you have any more?
Yeah. I'm not seeing any button or like under any menu an option to share my screen.
I'll share mine and make sure I'm getting it right. All right. So I'm gonna move on, switch that.
Yeah. No, that's great. And this is exactly what I was going to bring up. So that's perfect. And yeah, for everybody's reference, this presentation's on our website. To get started, my name is Kevin Harrison. I'm a transportation planner with the District Department of Transportation. Also on the phone is Keisha Anderson, our community engagement specialist for Ward 1, and also Stephen Hanrahan, who is the freight program specialist in our curbside management division. Construction is complete on the project. I appreciate everybody's patience throughout the construction process. I know that this was a big project that had a disruptive construction process, and now is a big change in the roadway. We've heard from people saying that it's presented some new challenges, particularly regarding loading, as Kristen discussed earlier. We've also heard from residents saying, this has been life-changing, and they're able to bring their kids to school faster and more easily now than they ever could before. So there's there's a lot, there are some growing pains, but I wanted to just kind of touch base and let people in the community know what's still in progress and what results we've seen so far from the project. So I'll try to make this brief. It's just about 10 slides and should take less than 10 minutes. But so We started work on this project about 3.5 years ago, working with the community to determine what the needs are, hearing from residents and what problems they were experiencing, proposed concepts. In May 2022, worked for about a year on analysis of that concept, doing traffic analysis, working with our colleagues at WMATA on bus operations. Then selected a concept about 2 years ago. Issued the notice of intent a little over a year ago, and then began construction in late June 2024. And then construction was really substantially complete in March 2024. You can go to the next slide. And so for people who are unfamiliar with the project, it included a protected bike lane along the length of the corridor where previously it had been a painted bike lane with long segments of interruption in that bike lane. It included a bus lane just for that last 2 blocks of the corridor, approximately 17th Street to 16th Street. Then repositioning of the bus stops, constructing boarding platforms so that the bus wouldn't be parking in the bike lane. And then pedestrian refuges. The traffic restriction on Champlain Street was part of this project, and the Ontario Road one-way conversion to northbound only. Then also quite a few revised curbside regulations. So where for most of the corridor there was 4-hour metered parking, now there's a mix of 30-minute metered parking and 2-hour metered parking, in addition to loading zones throughout the corridor. Go to the next slide. So these are just some kind of quick photos to show what's changed. This is 18th and Adams Mill and Columbia Road. So you can see the addition of the protected bike lane and the pedestrian refuge, shortening the crossing distance for pedestrians across Columbia Road at 18th Street. Next slide. And this is farther west on the corridor at at 19th and Columbia, and you can see the pedestrian refuge there and the boarding islands on that triangle park at 19th Street. Next slide. So the current status is that pretty much everything is complete. The couple items that are remaining are the planters that need to be installed this summer. That'll go in some of the flex posted off areas, and some of the railings need repair. And then also we'll be continuing to evaluate the project. And so preliminary data is looking very good. We see a need for enforcement of loading zones to be improved. And people can expect a performance report, in addition to the continual evaluation and analysis of how we can improve and hearing from stakeholders. We will issue a formal report on the project after it's been on the ground for 1 year, and we've been able to collect data after traffic patterns have adjusted and people have gotten used to it. Next slide. And so we issued an NOI for an additional loading zone at the end of last year and around November, December. An ANC 1C and their resolution in support of the loading zone noted that they'd like to hear more about the enforcement plan. So I wanted to make sure that we cover that. And so there's a number of different entities that do enforcement on Columbia Road. One of the functions that DDOT plays is that we operate in conjunction with WMATA, do the clear lane system where we enforce violations of the bus lane and bus stop through cameras that are mounted on board WMATA buses and then reviewed by DDOT staff to issue citations. And then also the Department of Public Works is a major part of the enforcement effort. And they've been active in enforcement. They're issuing over 300 citations a month on that 1700 and 1800 block of Columbia Road. So that's roughly from 17th Street to about Belmont, I believe, is where the 1800 block ends. And so that covers violations of commercial loading zones in addition to overstaying in metered parking. So those are kind of two of the major citations that are being issued. In addition to that, DDOT has traffic control officers and safety technicians present. Safety technicians near 17th Street and 19th Street, near those schools there during school arrival and dismissal. And then traffic control officers posted around Biltmore, helping to keep trucks moving and keep the loading zones clear. We've been distributing flyers to businesses and some of the distribution companies. There's shown there on the right, identifying where all of the loading zones are in the Adams Morgan area. And then also, as I mentioned, we added that new loading zone that's about 85 feet in February. And we're evaluating more locations for potential loading zones. And one last thing that I'll note is that there was a frustrating lag in getting all of the signage right on the corridor so that all of the zones were enforceable. We've finally gotten that all straightened out, and I've observed an improvement in compliance. And then also getting those regulations entered correctly into the Park Mobile app has made a big difference, and that makes it much easier for DPW staff to enforce those parking zones when they can immediately read the license plate and know whether they've overstayed their time. Next slide. And so just some quick project evaluation things. These are early results. It's really too soon to make conclusions about the success of the project. But there has been a phenomenal increase in speed and reduction in travel time for buses on the corridor. A 20 to 40% increase in both directions, I think, exceeds my expectations and makes it a very high performing project. And this is at a time when ridership has increased, which would normally slow down buses because of longer loading times. It's also been during a time from 2024 to 2025 when there's increased people commuting to work and everything. So it's really excellent to have seen improvements in travel time like this. Next slide. And at the same time, there's been minimal change in travel time for vehicular traffic, according to NRIC's data, which is based on cell phone and commercial fleet vehicles. The time that's been the worst impacted is the AM from about 9 to 10 a.m. There's been a modest increase in travel time in the southbound direction. And overall, it's really about the same. You can kind of see in the graph the difference between the red and the pink line for northbound, and the blue and the light blue for southbound are about the same. Next slide. In terms of bikes, we don't have counts in terms of how many more people are biking or anything like that, but there has been a 50% increase in the use of the rented e-bikes from 24 to 25. And that's, Capital Bike Share, electric bikes, and Line, VO, and those sorts of companies. And then about a 25% increase in Capital Bike Share trip starts and ends at the 5 stations on Columbia Road in that time. So good results. People are feeling more comfortable, and it's been really encouraging to see the number of parents comfortable riding with their kids through the corridor. And yeah, the data as an early indication indicates good results. And this is my contact information in the middle. Brittany Adams was the construction manager. If there's construction issues that you see, feel free to reach out to her. Other issues, feel free to reach out to me. And particularly if you see anything regarding the freight, loading zones, commercial loading zones, you can reach out to my colleague, Stephen Hanrahan, who should be on the call as well. And that's all for me. Happy to answer any questions folks might have.
Yeah, that was really helpful. I appreciate going through all those details. Commissioners, any questions? I have a couple of simple ones. One, I know that you've been, I think it's you that's been on at least one exchange or series of exchanges with a constituent asking about some things. One of those things is like the paint and some of the bike lane, the raised bike platforms in your bus stops comes off really easily. If you plan to get that repainted, I know it's not unique to here. I've seen it in other parts of the city as well. But some people have been consistently asking for it.
Sorry, I wasn't hearing you perfectly well. It was regarding the paint on the platforms.
Yeah, like near some of the bus stops, in the bike lane, the markings for the bike lane itself, it's like within a couple of months, just completely deteriorated.
Yeah, so I believe that had something to do with the weather conditions when the thermoplastic was applied, and the contractor says that they have restored all those pavement markings on the platforms. I have also gotten reports to the contrary, and so I'm going to have our Brittany have one of our inspectors go out and confirm that everything matches what's in the plans. I know they did some restoration of those pavement markings that I can see, but I'm not sure if it's fully up to be perfect.
Second question, I imagine there's a longer answer to this, so feel free to not give that. But the like data comparison of bus traffic and things, I imagine that'll be affected by the new bus system. Is that a true statement?
So the 42 and 43 before, in the after condition, operate the same way as the D72 and D74 do through this corridor. And so the way that we measure travel time is just between bus stops. And so those buses are serving the same bus stops as the 42 and 43 through this section. So it should be possible to continue to evaluate performance on this corridor.
And one question that came from someone in attendance, when is the 1 year mark that you're going to be doing evaluation? Is there a specific date?
Yeah, so I would expect, I think that the final traffic signals were activated in March, and so I think that that's when we expect, pretty much all of the positive effects of the project to be reflected in bus travel time. So I would expect it in spring 2026.
Good. Thank you for that. Looks like there's one hand from someone in attendance to ask a question. There's no name available. It's someone that is on an iPhone. So if your hand is up and you're on an iPhone, or named yourself iPhone but are not on an iPhone for some reason. What is yours? Good evening. If you're speaking, you're on mute, so we can wait. And let me see, while we're waiting on that, there's another. That's the same question. All right, looks like we lost that person. Am I missing any questions from the chat, commissioners? Oh, scooter drivers. Okay, I missed that one. Where is this? Someone's asking, I'm not sure if this is specific to this particular project, but
I think it is.
Scooter driver, you want to ask it because I didn't see the full text.
It's in the chat now, but I know this is a similar question or concern that had been brought up by other community members. It's just like the general etiquette of those using the bike lanes. So between either scooters, mopeds, or bicyclists, like if there's any enforcement with those areas. Like I know it's a common question that comes up in the community, and I don't know if that's in DDOT's jurisdiction or maybe it's with someone else.
Yeah, so DDOT generally has limited jurisdiction over moving violations and things like that. That's generally MPD and their priorities in terms of enforcement. We did speak this afternoon, as Kristen mentioned, we did a walkthrough of the area, and some of those concerns were expressed. And so we're going to try to reinforce, some of the existing laws through signage, some information potentially about wrong way signage to inform users of the bike lanes the correct direction to be going in, and look at some further signage and indicators to users about yielding to pedestrians, which I know is a major source of concern. But yeah, in terms of the actual enforcement, issuing citations and the like, that's generally an MPD activity. But anything that we can do around design of the facility to encourage proper behavior, we're certainly open to.
Looks like we have two more hands up. First hand, Dennis James. Good evening, Dennis. How are you doing? Looks like we're having multiple microphone issues tonight, so we'll be patient for a moment. The floor is yours, Dennis, if you're able to hear me.
Can we unmute people or?
I don't think that.
For good reason, we cannot.
Oh, unmute.
Okay, I guess we'll shift to the second person for now. iPhone user, you're back. Your hands up. We're here to hear. We're here to listen, excuse me.
Can you hear me, Peter?
Oh, perfect, that works.
All right. This is John Anthony. Really sorry for the hiccup earlier. I had one question, but after listening to really well-informed presentation from our GDOT guest, I have a second. And the second, forgive me if I ask the second first, is that I'm not trying to allege like manipulation of data, but like aren't bus travel times going to be inherently improved by reduction of stops?
Yeah, certainly. And so, yeah, that bus stop rebalancing, I think it's 2 fewer stops in each direction, will is part of why travel time has improved, certainly.
Okay. And the second is, and this one goes back a long time, is that the intersection at that tricky spot at Columbia and Ontario, through all like some really smart people analysis and doing what you do, doesn't seem to have improved at all. The backup in like, call it like 4 o'clock, 3:30, can go from Ontario to 18th Street heading east. And then that stop was removed right in front of the Popeyes. So I'm just wondering, that's a signal thing more than a bus stop thing. And I'm just wondering why that perhaps wasn't improved.
Yeah, so a lot of the delay in the eastbound direction stems from short green time at 16th Street. And so Ontario is giving people, I'd have to look at the numbers, but I think there might be twice as much green time at Ontario compared to 16th Street, roughly. So there's a lot more capacity at Ontario. And in my observation, when there's queuing west of Ontario for cars heading east, it's actually backing up from 16th Street. A lot of what we were trying to do at Ontario was actually about reducing confusion um, for um, for pedestrians, for all users, because there are long lags when there's a don't walk for people walking across Ontario, but there's no apparent conflict.
Yeah, it's honestly it's the longest light pause I've ever seen in the city. It's like 70 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, it's very long, and so there's a lot of green time for Columbia Road actually, and but then it can be very confusing as a pedestrian when you're trying to cross
Can
Ontario, and
can I
yeah,
actually ask for a point of clarification? When you say green time, what I mean is a hard red light heading east.
yeah. So I think the the total cycle is 110 or 120 seconds, and I think you're right. I think it's split at about 70 seconds of green time for Columbia Road, and then the balance is red time, and that is a long red. Um, and it's providing a phase for an all pedestrian cycle, and then a phase for northbound vehicle traffic, and then there's a southbound bicycle phase. Um, and so, yeah, it's a lot of phases at that in one cycle. So there is a long wait, but I think the capacity constraint is really 16th Street, where 16th Street is kind of hogging all the green time because it's a much higher volume roadway.
Okay, you would know better than me. I just wanted to ask.
No, no, I share your frustration with some of the complexities at that Ontario intersection. It's originates in the uncontrolled growth north of Florida Avenue before there was, private developers determining where to put roads and so forth. And those offset intersections are just really hard to manage.
One other hand up. I think this is Dennis. Welcome, Mr. James.
Hi, this is Dennis James. Am I being heard?
You are.
Yes.
Thank you. So this is all directed at Kevin Harrison. This project is a complete botch. It's dangerous for every user. There's nothing good about it. The fact that some buses are moving a little more quickly than they did before, as the previous caller noted, you've reduced the number of stops, so that's less good service. So that's the price for that. But, when the travel time is the same as you claim it is for an average vehicle, then the time for buses can't have improved by 20%. Come on, be logical here. The buses and the bicycles and the cars and trucks and everything travel on the same road. So if buses are going quicker, but everybody else is going less quickly, doesn't make any sense. At Columbia, going eastbound on Columbia, and if you want to go left onto Adams Mill Road, you have to wait for an orange arrow. And when you get that orange arrow, the opposing traffic is also getting it, the traffic coming westbound. So it's just like, it's a shootout kind of situation. It's just you might as well not have anything there, because it's just this, one would be just as careful if one didn't have an orange arrow. You're expecting something to happen, but in fact, the guy on the other side is, also has an orange arrow and could go, in a way opposing you. And the way that you would have to negotiate going eastbound, if you're on Columbia Road, westbound, you get to 18th Street, and if you don't want to go left, you still have to get in the left turn lane so that you can wait your turn to go across the intersection and continue on Columbia. And many people skip around to what is shown as a turn lane. And, that doesn't work either. That gums up the works, and it's not safe. The shelters are terrible in comparison to the previous shelters. There's hardly any true shelter. The seating is tiny. You can fit a couple of people there, where before you used to be able to sit 4 or 5. And there's no comparison in the amount of shelter one got in the old shelters. You were covered nicely by 3 sides, just with the front open. So everything about this project is bad. And I expect when the L2, now that it's stopped coming into Adams Morgan and just will go up Connecticut, that there'll be another increase in the capital bike share. I think that increase is tied to the fact that the current increase is tied to the fact that the circulators are no longer here. So people are looking for other ways to get where they want to go. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. I'm not sure if I heard a question there, but if you want to address any of that, Kevin, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I think a lot of the travel time improvement for buses is related to the challenges that buses used to have pulling in and out of traffic in congested conditions. And now they're making the in-lane stops. And so there's travel time parity between people driving and people riding on buses. Also mention on the safety front, it's too early to make conclusions based on the crash rates, but from February through May, so that's 4 months, there were no recorded injuries in the MPD crash reports, and that's the longest stretch that we've gone on Columbia Road since there were good records without a crash, and so that's very good news. Those crash reports are, continuously being updated, so things can change, but it's an early indicator that things are going well. I did hear a report of an injury in June, so I expect that to be reflected in the June data once it becomes available. But there are early good signs on the safety front.
I appreciate that. I mean, I know we have several commissioners, including myself, who, for lack of a better term, are data aficionados, and lived experiences are valid, but they don't always reflect broader patterns. So it's helpful to have that data at hand. Although, as you mentioned, we'll hopefully get more robust data sets in the future. Commissioner Olson, you had your hand up. You took it down. You want to go, or are you good?
I was going to ask about safety.
Right. Well, thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate this. I imagine we'll be in some degree of communication in the future, but I know that you have colleagues that we can also contact for other things. So we'll try to siphon away some of that contact from you after many months of getting a lot of emails from us and constituents. So appreciate all your work on this and for being.
No, and I appreciate all your help and being a point of contact on this project over many years. So thanks to all of you, and talk soon.
Have a good evening.
All right.
All right. So next on our agenda, thank you, everyone. I'll say this probably multiple times. Thank you for waiting for your turn. Jubilee Housing is going to give us a brief update on some of the real estate developments. There are several in Adams Morgan. So eager to hear some of the latest. Some of it's visible, as I think Commissioner Tu mentioned earlier in the evening, but there's often a lot behind the scenes to hear from. If you're here from Jubilee, and I'm not sure who, I know who you are, but I don't know who in specific is going to speak. If you could raise a hand, we'll get you promoted. All right, looks like Tyrell's here to speak. I'm not sure if Malcolm will as well. Yeah, so we got two. All right. Welcome, good evening. How are you doing?
Doing well.
The floor is yours. Take over. How are you doing?
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Can you hear me? One of the comments said that my audio is bad. I'll start speaking louder. Is this okay?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, and yeah, you have a presentation. Do you want me to share my screen, or do you want all to try that? Either way is fine.
Malcolm, can Malcolm share?
If you can, please go ahead. If not, I don't mind doing so. Any luck, Malcolm? Looks like we got it. Perfect. All right, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chairperson Wood, and to the 1C Commission. My name is Tyrell Holcomb, and I have the honor of serving as Vice President of External Affairs at Jubilee Housing. I'm joined by two of my colleagues. Is Jordan with us as well?
I don't think they've been promoted, but I think they're here.
I believe Jordan Shahin should also be with us.
Yeah.
Jordan's been promoted.
I'm
see
here.
Jordan.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
there is. Yeah.
There's some questions toward the end that I think he'll be better suited to answer. So whenever we can get him promoted.
He's up. You're good.
I'm sorry.
I think we got all three of you, Malcolm, and Jordan, all as panelists. So
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're appreciative of this opportunity to present. Great to see you, Commissioner Ficello, as well. Again, my name is Tyrell Holcomb. I serve as Vice President of External Affairs here at Jubilee. I'm joined by my colleagues, Malcolm Rosenthal, who serves as our Public Policy and Advocacy Intern, as well as Jordan Shahin, who serves as our Vice President of Real Estate Development. Next slide, please. And so we are excited to have this opportunity to come before you to share some updates, some brief updates, and we'll do our very best to be succinct and concise with our presentation. It's a very busy time for Jubilee, as you may see in the community, with 3 of our current projects that are in the midst of construction. As an organization, we are currently serving about 1,000 people with housing and services. As an organization, our work is rooted in a model in which we call justice housing. So housing for residents that is connected to nearby services and supports, and then also coupled with wraparound services for residents, families, seniors, young people through our out of school time and summer programming, as well as returning citizens as well. And so here is a high level overview of the exciting time that we're going through here at Jubilee. Much of what's happening here in 2025, Euclid and Kalorama, UCal, will be opening the 2400 Ontario property, and then 3 new properties, as well as the Sitar program expansion and the aquaponics farm opening as well. And then in 2026, we anticipate the King Emmanuel Baptist former site, which will now be 18 single room occupancy units for, 18 single room occupancy for residents who have just returned home from incarceration, coupled with a commercial kitchen, which will be utilized by residents as well as Jubilee Farms, and which we are touting will be selling the best kale in all of DC. And then hopefully the 1800 Columbia Road Northwest headquarters, in which I'm currently in right now, will begin construction in 2027. Next slide, please. So just a quick overview summary of the current developments and the number of units in which they'll bring online. Next slide shows a visual of the development calendar in which I just outlined construction to our anticipated occupancy timeline. Next slide, please. So 1724 Kalorama was acquired in 2018 with assistance from our partner at Sitar Arts Center. Kalorama will include a numerous number of family-sized units. Here you can see 7 of them will be 2 bedrooms, 9 of them will be 3 bedrooms, a new commercial condominium which will be owned and operated by Sitar Arts Center, and then a new Jubilee housing office on the penthouse level, which will be occupied by some of our staff members as well. And forgive me for failing to mention this, we will be sharing out the slide deck with the commission, or the slide deck's been shared with the commissioners, and so it's available to be shared out as well. Next slide, please. The next property is the 1460 Euclid building, similar to the previous one acquired in 2018 after the tenant association exercised their TOPA rights and assigned their rights to Jubilee Housing. The property is going to have several green building features, including high efficiency HVAC systems, green roof, and a 28.8 kilowatts solar panel energy system. And again, kind of that same vein and model of a number of units that are going to be family size units, 7 2-bedrooms, 5 3-bedrooms, and then 2 4-bedroom units there as well. Next slide, please. This here is a rendering of the KEB. There's some of the mural glass down there as well on the slide deck here. We're excited that it's going to feature 18 single room occupancy for citizens who are returning home from incarceration. Full-size commercial kitchen, again, which is going to be operated by the residents, and our newly formed Jubilee Farms. The sanctuary area where the worship was, it's going to serve as kind of the prep station, and then we're going to be refurbishing the stained glass windows from the original building. And we're, again, equally excited that this is going to be the very first affordable housing integrated aquaponics farm, which is going to be ran by Jubilee Farms. State-of-the-art rooftop greenhouses, flexible community room, and solar panel system will all be residing on the Jubilee Farms rooftop site, which is there in this rendering toward the back half of the rendering. I think you can see some of the kale right there on top of the building. And then next slide, please. So Jubilee Admo Apartments LP renovation. I will actually yield at this time and ask my colleague Jordan to share out about the Jubilee Admo Apartments.
Is there any way to get my video on? I don't know if that's a privilege that the commissioners need to give me, or.
Yeah, Jordan, I promoted you to a panelist. You have to accept.
So there might be a pop-up that you have to hit yes. Looks like we got it.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, guys. So as Tyrell mentioned, this is our latest project, yet to begin, but we're scheduled to close in the next couple of months and proceed with our construction schedule. We're going to be renovating a portfolio of 6 buildings that we refer to as Jubilee 1 and Jubilee 2. That is the Fuller, Mozart, Marietta, Ritz, Euclid, and Sorrento. And we're going to be going through these efforts in a phased sequence. We're going to be starting with roughly 2, sometimes 3 buildings at a time, beginning in late 2025 and completing sometime in mid-2027. We are planning mainly interior renovations to the buildings. The primary focus is going to be on preserving the historical appearance of 4 of the 6 buildings and minimizing any impacts on the exteriors, the neighbors, the community, rather just to focus on providing our residents with improved units, common areas, accessibility improvements, MEP, interior finishes, things of that nature. So we do anticipate that there will be some impacts to the neighbors, although we hope that these will be minimal based on the scope of the project. Sort of your typical hardships with being a neighbor of construction, a little bit more noise, a little bit of dust, some lane closures from deliveries, from contractors, maybe a little bit less street parking available. However, we're not planning on any major exterior renovations, any major right-of-way work. So we hope that the community will be pleased to see these efforts, minimizing any negative impacts to them. One thing we're most excited about is that in the Fuller building, we're going to be expanding our youth program space. And so we'll be able to not just serve our existing community better, but also bring in some new members to the Jubilee family and make sure that those programs are impacting a greater number of citizens in the community. Next slide, please. Tyrell, do you want to take back over here and talk a little bit about the 1800 Columbia project? Or do you want me to go?
You can go. You're on a roll.
So it sounds like from the earlier panelists, most of you are familiar with Jubilee headquarters, where it's located in the plaza that surrounds it. So we're excited to show you some of these visuals that the community may not have seen yet related to the proposed building, as well as some of the improvements that we're planning for the plaza for the community space. We are not yet finalized with our design process, and so we're still happy to take any input from the community if they're interested in weighing in on the project here. But we are planning to do a new building. We're going to raise the existing building and build a new one from the ground up. It's going to be 6 stories, 51 units. There will be mixed use. So there will be commercial space on the ground floor, multifamily space above. And we're looking at a pretty significant improvement to the plaza to better serve the different events that we have there, the farmers market, festivals, events. So we're excited to see this progress as this project as it progresses. And if someone could go to the next slide, I think there are a few more images here of the proposed. Oh no, that's it. Okay, we clipped those out.
Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, we clipped them out because we didn't want to take up the rest of the meeting. But we're appreciative of this opportunity to present. Sharing out here our contact information, phone numbers, and email addresses. If there's anything that comes up from commissioners or community members, by all means, please feel free to reach out via these means of contact. And again, we will share and encourage you to share, commissioners, this information with community members as well. At this time, I'm sorry, a little parched and ready to eat. But at this time, we're happy to answer any questions that may come up.
Thanks to all of you. Really appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Commissioner Laughlin.
So I don't, I know we've had particularly a constituent in my SMD and related to the Washington Post article from last month regarding sort of the cost of building these affordable housing units. I don't have anything super specific to add to that, but and maybe this would be part of a larger town hall or agenda we should do later on. But is there any background or I know to build these units, it's a complicated funding process. And one, it's also really impressive all the work that you've all done within the Adams Morgan community. But do you have any sort of general reaction or what you've been when you've been contacted, or particularly about that Post article, that could give us insight of sort of the costs behind building these units and just sort of insight on that?
Absolutely. Commissioner, thank you so very much for your question. I'd share that very frustrated to have even had the article be published in the manner in which it was. I was at dinner with family when the article was shared out with me, and so it was a very frustrating moment. I would say we're grateful that we had the opportunity to publish a response letter to the editor, in which I'm happy to share with the entire commission for you all to have that, to see what it is that we shared out in our response to the editor. I think a large part of what we wanted to really capture as we spoke with some of my colleagues spoke with the reporter around, really why the cost point was where it was, but really where our focus as an organization is. And so it's, really frustrating that didn't make it in. The reality is, as we know, I reside in Ward 7. I've been in the city my entire life. I've never at any point seen us build more studio and 1-bedrooms than up to this point. And so we recognize and know that families are growing. People want to remain in the city. And to do that, in order to do that, you need to build 2, 3, and 4-bedroom units to the like in which we've been able to do on some of these properties that are currently under construction. And so that response in that letter to the editor really will share out a large sentiment that was penned by the chair of our board.
Can I add just a little bit to that as well? I think it speaks to the strength of the Adams Morgan market, that it's expensive to build here, because the first several $100,000s of the unit costs that they published were just to acquire the site. And it's valuable real estate. It's a wonderful neighborhood. It's somewhere where people want to be. And so, when you're acquiring these properties that need a conversion or need a retrofit, whether it's a renovation or new construction, just to get in the door is significantly expensive. I think another part of it is Jubilee's focus on providing family-sized units, where market rate developers are typically trying to squeeze every foot, and smaller unit sizes, heavy on studios and one bedrooms. We are willing to to hurt the per unit metric, but our per square foot number or our per bedroom number is in line where it should be, because we have these larger family sized units. So I think those are two major factors in it, and the rest is just that because of the complex nature, not just of the finance structure, but also of the project costs with things like Davis-Bacon, first source requirements, et cetera. You do get some inflation in the labor and materials portion, but that ensures that people in the neighborhood are being paid a fair wage, that local contractors are being favored over out of the market contractors. And so, yes, the cost is high. It does look like from a 100-foot view down that, maybe funds are being misused, but really it's because of the strength of the neighborhood and the community focus that a lot of these costs end up driving upwards. So
yeah, thanks for
that helps.
I know that it's probably been on your mind a lot as well, so I appreciate you.
One more question. Was Jubilee able to get any assistance from the DC Housing Fund for the 18th property, the Ontario and 18th, if I'm getting that, the 1800 Columbia Road? I know that last time we heard about updates about that particular location, some funding sources from the district was still up in the air, and I didn't know if you all were able to acquire any.
Yeah. We've not been selected. We were not selected. We learned recently. Jordan, I'm sure you may be able to share kind of what our process is going into this upcoming fiscal year as it approaches, but we were not selected in the last round, unfortunately.
Okay.
But certainly would welcome the opportunity to come back before you all and want to work in tandem and partnership with the commission.
Any other questions, commissioners? I've really simple. I'll keep it as a yes/no question. If the answer is yes, we can discuss offline further. Any opportunities for murals on any of these buildings? Because I know of one that I've been helping to potentially relocate and is looking for a home.
As the persons, myself and Jordan, who went through a lot to get the current mural on the headquarters on the wall. I think we're willing to bite off another mural conversation. So I think we should be able to make something shake.
We are looking for somebody potentially to help with the proposed mural at 1724 Calorama.
Well, I guess let's say
we've been in talks with Sitar Art Center, who's our partner there, and they have the majority of the front of the ground floor facade area. But they're open to it, as are we, and so we'd welcome any suggestions you might have for artists or content.
I've been in pretty regular contact with some people at Pepco and at some other nonprofits trying to find a new home for the Unity mural that's on the side of the substation that's going to get torn down. If there's an opportunity for me to help kind of liaise that and get everyone in contact, that could be an interesting conversation, because I've been trying to make sure that it doesn't just vanish, and find a good home for that. So if that's a possibility, there's other buildings too. So we'll see what works. All right. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. Hope we get something to eat, Tyrell.
Thanks so much.
Thank you,
commissioners.
All right. Next on our agenda, a presentation from representatives of the Adams Morgan Community Alliance. I guess it'll be kind of a two-part. We had added to our consent agenda support for letter, but this would be more of the general update on just how things are going in advance of the 2025 Adams Morgan Day. So I don't remember who's going to speak, but if you're here for Adams Morgan Day update, please raise your hand and we'll get you promoted. Got CC, and I don't know if, I think that'll work for now. All right. Welcome. Thanks for waiting. How are you doing?
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me?
And good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to call up my presentation here. Good evening, commissioners, and thanks for having me. I'm going to give you an update regarding the Adams Morgan Day Festival. Let's see here. All right. Adjust my camera. A second.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. So yes, as you mentioned, I definitely need you guys buy-in, as it basically helps with the permit process. And it's part of the permit process. So I'm going to just go over briefly where we are, things that we're doing, the layout of the stages, things of that nature. Okay. So AMCA, the Adams Morgan Community Alliance, it was formed in July of 2016 to support the community by stepping in to continue the tradition of our annual Adams Morgan Day celebration. It's held every second Sunday in September, which this year it falls on the 14th, and we are now in our 47th year. As you know, it's the longest running neighborhood festival and is still a staple of the community. This year, the festival will be held between the hours of 12 and 7. And last year, we had approximately 44,000 people in attendance. I want to talk a little bit about our goal, and that's to hold a true community celebration each year. We have turned Adams Morgan Day back into a volunteer-run event, and our intent is to be as transparent as possible and inclusive as possible while growing the festival from year to year by listening to community feedback. And the one thing that we heard last year, we wanted another stage. So finally, we have grown the festival to have 3 stages, but I'm going to review that shortly, which I'm really happy about that. The Adams Morgan Day is the most anticipated event in the community, which is inclusive of children, local artists, the community, and most of all, the Adams Morgan's businesses. Basically, the businesses are an integral part of the festival. They post our flyers, they participate. We are, sometimes we feature them on social media, so they're really helpful in the process. This year, we're going to have 3 stages, as I mentioned. We're going to be in the Marie Reed area. That's where we will have our artists and stroll. That's where our vendors will be. Our dance plaza, which has international dance acts, as well as the lower level field. That's where Volo City kids activities will be. And June 24th is when the permit process started and the field was available. And I did speak with a gentleman from Department of General Services. He said that the field will be available for September 14th. Kalorama Park, we're going to bring something back that was here at the Adams Morgan Day Festival some years ago. We used to have a reggae stage. This year, we're going to have reggae in the park, so that's going to be different. Of course, a lot of the local artists. We have Bukum Cafe in the area, and they have several reggae bands there, and hopefully we will get those guys to perform this year with us. And of course, at the park, the sound will be amplified, and that's one of the questions that was asked for the permit. So just to let you know, we will have sound there, a very small stage, and it'll be a very intimate setting. We also have a music stage at the Jubilee Plaza. And that's our 3rd stage, which we're really glad about that, to bring another music stage. And of course, we will have our community history with the DC Humanities truck. Unfortunately, this year, we will not be able to close the streets, but we are still working towards closing the streets. But if not, as the police indicated last year, they were asking, were we going to be in an isolated area, a confined area? And if we're at Kalorama Park, it's confined. Marie Reed area is confined, as well as the Jubilee area. So, once you're in that area, that's where the event will take place. And I know that's one of the things that MPD did ask me last year. We also have our security in place. We'll have security, I believe, at Calorama as well at Marie Reed. And since we are on DPR's property, we also use their security as well. Okay, one other thing I want to mention. Last year we had the large dumpsters there, and I believe we did use our cleanup services. I believe bid provided services, but we did have the dumpsters there at Marie Reed as well as Calorama. So we will probably use that same process this year. I'm just pulling out some things that they're asking in their permit. Give me a second here. Business outreach. As I mentioned, we definitely include the businesses. We have them on our social media. They post our flyers in their windows and definitely help us to promote the festival. So basically, what I'm seeking is just, as I've done in the past, just your buy-in and just to make sure that, again, with your support, that we will have a great festival. Although the streets aren't closed, we're going to do the best that we can to get them closed, but we're going to work with what we have now.
Thanks for all that. I had two quick questions. One, the letter support, who should it be addressed to? Do you know what agency or agencies?
Department of General Services.
Just making sure. Second question, and this is from someone in attendance as well. Any more detail you can give on why the difficulties of getting 18th Street closed to vehicular traffic? Like, what was in that process and what like opportunities, if any, could ANC 1C potentially help advocate to get that?
Well,
popular thing. We want to see what we can do.
Yes. It was timing, I believe, so we did not submit the letter of intent timely. However, we are looking at possibly if we could close a block or two down. I'm going to speak to the Department of Transportation, hopefully tomorrow or early next week.
Wishing you luck.
And the other thing, of course, is funding. So I remember 1 year it was very expensive to close the entire 18th Street down. So it was funding for us.
And that's what we've heard in the past. That's why the bid had been helpful with that and other events, just because they had other ways to help account for that. And that's not always
yes.
Questions, commissioners, those in attendance. Appreciate you for being here.
Thank you.
This year, and if we can be helpful, we'll be on recess in the next 2 months-ish, so we can't really vote on it. But outside of that, if we can be helpful, let us know.
And I appreciate you having me, because I remember a couple of years ago you were on recess, but you were still able to pull everyone together to get my permit. So thank you for that too.
Got it curve this time, I think. Well, thanks again. Have a good evening. Talk to you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we'll move to consent agenda. Any last reservations about the consent agenda? All right, consent agenda passes. We'll get the minutes up. I might like literally try to get them up as we're doing one of these other items if someone's presenting, just to keep ANC happy. Next, we have a few different items. Nothing's come from any committee, so this is just kind of a formality, I suppose, but we'll need seconds to discuss and vote on any of these. First item is a request for support for renaming the 2500 block of Champlain Street in memory of Charlie McCormick. I believe, if they're still here, we have representatives of his family here. If you're here, I appreciate you waiting. I know that was about an hour and a half. But if you'd like to speak and you're in attendance for that item, please raise your hand and we'll promote you to speak. Kristen's hand is up. I'll start with that.
Yeah, I hope that Cam McCormick is here also, Charlie's sister. Has she raised her hand?
I don't see her.
No. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, I don't know what might have happened, but so yeah, so Cam McCormick, and who's Charlie's sister, she lives in Massachusetts. She approached us about helping to honor Charlie's legacy in a meaningful way. Charlie McCormick, I think many of you know, started City Bikes, the bike shop that was on Champlain Street for, I think he started it in 1987. And he was a big advocate of cycling in the city, and also was instrumental in starting WABA, the Washington Area Bicyclist Association. And so Cam thought it would be a nice way to honor him to do the ceremonial renaming of that one block of Champlain Street, that 2500 block of Champlain Street, as Charlie McCormick Way, in his memory. Charlie passed away, I think it was 2 years ago in May. And so this is, now the time that process can start. DC Council needs to introduce legislation to do that. So one of the parts of that is getting a letter of support from the ANC. So there's more that Cam, I think, sent, but that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just move to discuss and support this. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
So being kind of brief, yeah, hopefully that we can maybe find another opportunity for them to come and speak, just kind of informally, just to be able to give them a chance to speak to it. I mean, I find this to be a pretty simple thing I'm supportive of it, so I don't even think it warrants much more discussion because it's an easy one for me. But other commissioners, if you have any questions, comments, please go ahead. All right, this could even have gone on the consent agenda, but like I said, wanted to give the opportunity for them to speak, but we have a long agenda, so they probably got bored, or at least didn't have as much interest in the other items as some other attendees might have. All right, so all those in favor of supporting this proposed name change and getting this process started, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? I don't think so. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Thanks for that, Kristen.
Yeah, sure. So the letter, I think you can probably just send, send me a copy and Cam McCormick as well. And then send it to Councilmember Nadeau, because she'll need to introduce the legislation.
I think I have all those emails, but if I'm missing the McCormick's, I'll ask you just in case.
Okay, sure thing.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you all.
All right, next item. I believe the artist is here still, hopefully. If you are, thank you for waiting. So we'll be discussing a request for support of a community mural at the Festival Center. They're applying for a grant and are looking for us to add some support for that process. Welcome, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I have a presentation. Should I toss the link in the chat, or is there a way for me to share my screen?
If you accepted a panelist invitation, I think you should be able to do it yourself.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay, I'm having a bit of an issue. Would someone mind sharing for me? It wasn't.
I'm loading up the link you sent right now, and hopefully I don't have to sign into Canva. Okay, that's great.
Huh.
Here we go. There we are. How's that work?
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully this won't take more than 8 to 10 minutes max. 5 minutes if I go really fast. Okay, so my name is Shawnee Shi. I'm a local DC artist partnering with the Festival Center. Today, next slide, please. I'm just gonna go through really quickly what the grant is that we're applying for. Essentially, I'm here requesting the ANC's like a letter of support for our application. So I'll share about the Festival Center, about myself, about the project, where we are in the process, and a rough kind of design that will be more fully fleshed out before the application is submitted. And would love to hear any questions that folks might have. The next slide, please.
Pop up. So here we go.
Thank you. So the public art building communities grant, and this is the grant for which this letter would be submitted. It's a Commission on Arts and Humanities grant. It funds public art projects that are viewable and accessible from public space. This grant is open to individual artists, bids, and arts organizations to apply for. I will be applying for this as an individual artist that's partnering with an organization. And this, you know, it's a quick turnaround. Really, we found out about this grant kind of later than we would have liked, but really the community is very excited to get, you know, to potentially have some funding to get a mural in the building, which has been, you know, something the community of the festival center has been wanting for a very long time. So yes, the deadline is coming up. So next slide, please.
Canva's kind of running wild, so I apologize if it's hard.
Would it make it easier to press present?
Yeah, but the presentation button's not like showing up. They're all, sorry,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's my computer that's being overworked, but if I can,
Gotcha. Thank you for
I can get to
sharing.
that.
Yes, okay, so a little bit about the festival center. I'm sure everyone knows it's been a fixture of the Adams Morgan community for 30 years. I believe it's in 1C09. It's a community center, a hub for activists, artists, in both secular and faith-based mission-driven groups. And so many organizations really based in Ward 1, Adams Morgan, and surrounding neighborhoods use this as a home base. And you know, these groups are really at the front lines of serving you know, some of our most vulnerable communities and really just all communities of all backgrounds, and that make Adams Morgan, Morgan's community so vibrant and beautiful. Next slide, please. That's me. I am a DC artist. I am also an arts educator and a community organizer. I helped to co-found you know, this street art social justice collective called 411 Collective. I run a youth art space in Chinatown called the Chinatown Art Studio. I also worked for many years in the housing advocacy space. So I'm really passionate about using public art for the purposes of really telling community stories from a very nuanced and kind of careful point of view. And especially considering, you know, just all the many challenges that our diverse communities are facing, just using murals as a vehicle to tell those stories in a sensitive way. So just showing some photos of my, oh, well, this is examples of my collective's work. The one on the right, you know, we partnered with Empower DC to do an installation for the Cornell School, and they were still, you know, working to advocate for its reopening, which they eventually succeeded. So we did a ground mural installation and, you know, lettering around, and it was activated, a lot of community programming. It was really a beautiful project. I painted the portrait on the ground. And wanted to share kind of a mural that we did on a cross-country kind of tour, but this was working with Latinx communities in Detroit and really highlighting some of their stories there. And in some of my work, I recently did, well, a couple years ago now, I did a mural honoring Earlene Budd, who's a fierce and beloved leader within the trans community here in DC. I've done, you know, just murals with many different community organizations, schools, community gardens, movement spaces. So yeah, just excited about working with different groups. This is a mural I did recently in Chinatown. It was really exciting because, and this is really the project we want to model this project at the festival center after. You know, something so massive and so huge, community members, young and old, were able to participate directly in it. We used kind of, it's like loose mural paper canvas cloth that community members like painted, right, like at home or like in our community space, and then we pasted it up into the mural, and you can't even tell it's there. So this is one of the methods through which we want to engage really the many communities that not only are that operate out of the festival center and come attend programs at the festival center, but that the neighbors around surrounding the building. Next slide. And just some more pictures of community engaged art that this project will echo. So yeah, as I said, this is really, although the turnaround is fast, we're really motivated by the excitement in the community for this project, and to tell stories of communities that are really facing a hard time right now, and this visibility through public art is really the intention, right? So I've done 2 in-person engagement sessions with different groups at the festival center. A lot of kind of immigrant representation from different communities. Ward 1 Mutual Aid, who is based in Adams Morgan, had a lot of representation in these groups as well. We have done a virtual survey for neighbors, and we're going to have a community kind of photo portrait session coming up in the coming weeks, where I get more reference photos by taking photos of people's faces from different angles. So at this point, the concept has been determined and the design will be completed by July 15th. And excited to be able to share the finalized design with you all when it's done. But what I wanted to share with you today is really and get your support around is really the in-depth concepts that have come through the engagement process, which is these words like vibrant, multicultural, intergenerational, empowered, connected, families, youth, neighborhood history, like many languages. Stories were shared. There was a teen who built his own telescope and was on Columbia by 16th Street, offering community the chances to take a look through the telescope. And there's a story shared about how beautiful that moment was, and really how it was representative of the organic, kind of rich, vibrant energy of Adams Morgan. And just someone else shared about how walking down the street, you're able to hear so many different languages from different parts of the world. And so next slide, please. Really, so far, this is just a rough kind of sketch to show the direction, right, of the design. The portrait, the biggest portrait is of a woman named Areli, who was a fierce advocate for, the Latinx communities living in and around Adams Morgan. Some of the folks who, are street vendors or otherwise are, just folks who really contribute to the cultural and cultural fabric of this community, and some children and elders, and the boy with the telescope, and just really tying together the sense of interconnectivity between the people in Adams Morgan, and highlighting themes of migration, of imagination and curiosity, and really in the background, there will be some elements and motifs around like maps, and landmarks, and to really create or evoke the sense of place, and the identity around the sense of place that Adams Morgan folks have spoken about. Residents were saying how it's really special that in Adams Morgan, everything is here. Everything's contained in this place, and you never really have to leave. And so, I want to capture that through, motifs, the map motif, markers of place. So yeah, this design will be fleshed out a lot more. There's some empty space here. It will be filled with kind of references to community history, to neighborhood history, to more arts and culture of the neighborhood. There's too many communities and cultures to count. So we will do our best to represent it. So yeah, so I hope you all will find this to be something that you can support, like an application that you can support, and open to any questions.
That was really great. Your work looks amazing. Looking forward to seeing it in the community. Questions, comments, commissioners, in attendance? I'm just sorry, I'm just kind of going to see if I missed anything that people typed in. Not that I see. I think most of it's been addressed. All right. So has a motion been made? I don't think so. I'll move to support this. This is easy for me. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any last comments, questions, commissioners, those in attendance? All right, those in favor of supporting this and getting some more murals, especially some very good looking murals to Adams Morgan, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Really appreciate you taking the time to share all that with us. And I don't think there's much for us to do, but if you're looking for any additional help as the project moves on, please be in touch and we'll do our best. All right, we lost your video and your audio, but I'll take that as a thank you. And hope you have a good evening. All right, next on our agenda, let me just switch to back from that. All right, so another request for a letter of support. This is for another mural at Clydesdale Place and Adams Mill Road. I believe we have someone from the Art in the Right of Way program. Kim Vaca's hand is up. I don't remember. I think it was Commissioner Diamond that had been in some correspondence on this. So we might have to fill in some gaps here, but we'll do our best. Welcome, Kim. How are you doing?
Hi, commissioners. How are you? I'd love to turn my camera on, but I'm very sick and feel like hot garbage. So we're gonna keep that off and spare you. But thank you so much for having me. I have a presentation, it's very quick, that I think would be good to share some visuals. So I'll share my screen. But good evening. My name is Kim Vaca. I am a resident at 1820 Clydesdale Place Northwest in 1C04. I am proposing ground murals at the intersection of Clydesdale Place, my street, and Adams Mill Road Northwest, shown here in the aerial. You might remember my name. I used to be a transportation planner at the Department of Transportation running the Arts in the Right of Way program, but I'm here in my own personal capacity as a resident of this street. If you're not familiar with Arts in the Right of Way, it's been a program dating back to 2019 that allows art in public spaces, and ground murals have many, many benefits from just like bringing art to communities, but also increasing safety and visibility of pedestrian spaces, creating more attractive streetscapes, enhancing neighborhood identity, all things that I think the residents on my street are encouraging of, so much so that we attached in my correspondence with this commission, I included a letter of support from the board of my building representing 58 units, and then some correspondence with adjacent residents in 1860 and the Clydesdale across the street. For different viewpoints, here's the northbound mural. This is on my street on Clydesdale Place. Two murals would be in the curb extensions shown by numbers 2 and 3, and then southbound back on Adams Mill Road, all within the confines of the striped curb extension areas. Being a resident of this street and walking these streets every day, there's a lot of inspiration for the design. From the overthrust fault that's adjacent to the site, that could use some love for sure from MPS, to the tree leaves of prominent trees in Rock Creek Park, which is a major neighborhood landmark for us, from the colors representing the vegetation of the neighborhood, such as this really beautiful flowers at the 1860 building right at the intersection, to the plentiful brick facades in Lanier Heights, much of which was constructed in the early 1900s and on this block in the 1920s. So my design before you today kind of incorporates all of those different elements in some abstract form, but also not. And this is meant to be a bright and simple design because I would love to make this a community created event. So if approved by you all, I need to go through the proper permitting, but I would love for this to be installed by the residents of this neighborhood. So anyone can come out, from children to adults, to paint this design. So I kept it pretty high, large shapes, bright colors, things that, anyone doesn't have to be an artist to necessarily install. A great example of that was the recent rainbow mural on 15th Street Northwest that was put in for World Pride now 2 months ago. So next steps would be receiving a letter of support from Commissioners 1CO4, 1CO5, or the whole commission of 1C. We are required to get a letter of support from the commission as part of the Arts in the Right of Way permit with DDOT. And attached to that would be this presentation showing the location and the proposed design, which takes about 2 weeks to review. And then once if approved, then I would be able to install hopefully anytime after that with the goal of sometime this summer. I've included the community support letters in case commissioners may not have seen it from, the various different buildings and the board of my building's letter of support, but happy to answer any questions about the process, the design, or the community engagement that I've been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all that. That was really helpful. You may or may not be aware, have discussed similar but different projects in the past and the degree to which
Yes.
involvement can be factored in. So this is really appreciated. Commissioners, any questions, comments? All right. My one question, which you've addressed, and I'm pretty sure you've probably been asked by maybe Commissioner Diamond or some neighbors or both, that community input factor and talking to residents specifically. It sounds like you got a good chunk of people that live right there, but if there's any further opportunity or I guess, opportunity for commissioners to help make sure that neighbors nearby are aware of it, please let us know. This is an issue we often run into, which is don't really have the capacity resources to let
Totally.
every single resident know about every single thing, which is just the nature of the world, but we'll do our best to make sure people know.
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally appreciate that. The mural that you're referencing changed the way that DDOT notified the community for arts installations moving forward. So I think there was a lot to learn there. But for this, being initiated by this community, not from the government, for this mural, I wanted to also make sure that this was stemming from my community, not just me as a resident. So that's why I went to get these letters and talk with my neighbors. I also plan on putting out, if approved, flyers at all of the adjacent buildings, encouraging people to come out for the date to install and help install the mural so that they can feel a part of this. So I want to post at the community billboard that's over by Compass Coffee so that people can see that there. But yes, once I get the dates selected, I would love to share it with this commission. And if you can help promote it on your listservs, I would really greatly appreciate that, to have all the hands we can get.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think I can speak for myself and probably a few others that we want to help you with that and also attend. So that'd be cool. All right, Commissioner Olson.
Awesome.
I'll just say quickly that I think my understanding of DDOT's process for this, the bar is quite low to do this kind of work. We're talking about paint on the ground. So just for any commissioners maybe that have, I think, Kim, you've done like an incredible job to get input, and I think you have gone beyond the bar that I would consider necessary, because this sort of thing, if we do need to change it, it's a matter of painting over it. I think we should experiment and try this out.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? All right, I'll move that we send support for this. I'm in general almost always in support of art projects in public spaces, so this is easy for me as well. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. I said I'll try to do my best with getting our minutes online, but getting some of these letters out with the holiday weekend, I will do my best to do it tomorrow, but if my paid job gets in the way, I apologize. But thanks for being here, Kim. Really appreciate that, and we'll be in further touch.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Yeah. Okay, so I moved an agenda item up because I know that there at least should be someone who's been patiently waiting to speak to it. So 2009 18th Street, tentatively being redeveloped, and there's an application that is due to go before the Historic Preservation Review Board. If you're here for 2009, get your hand up, we'll get you promoted, and thank you for waiting roughly 2 hours to get to this item. As you can see, there's no really other way to do this besides having someone wait, so I appreciate your patience. Welcome. Good to meet you, Chuck.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate but just quick introduction. I'm Charles Warren. I'm with Taze Warren Architects. I'm the architect of record for the project. Everybody can hear me okay? Great. And I just want to thank the commission for the late addition to the agenda. I appreciate the opportunity of the night, and I know it is late, so I'll keep it brief. And I should be able to share my screen, I think. Oh, here we go. Everybody see that okay?
Yeah, we can.
Great, awesome. So thank you so much. This is HPRB case number 25331. This is 2009 18th Street. I'll do a quick site background. Most of you recognize the site. So this sits at the intersection of California Street and 18th Street. It's directly across the street south from Marie Reed. And most of you probably recognize it as the former Alfresco restaurant location. This is zoned MU4 zoning. It's a mixed use, medium density mixed use zoning, which allows for an up to 50-foot tall building and up to a 3.0 FAR with inclusionary zoning, which we will be participating in. And this sits within the Washington Heights Historic District, which is the reason why we're here with you today. And this was an SMD 1C01, which, as I understand it, is now vacant, is currently vacant. This is former Commissioner Michelson Horitz's SMD. The proposed project, we are proposing to raise the existing building. Unfortunately, just doesn't work with the program and the density available for the site. For the use, we are proposing a multifamily building here. It will be 4 stories tall plus a zoning penthouse. In height, it'll be pretty similar, if not a little bit shorter than the Ashley building, the Hanson brick building that's just across 18th Street to the west. We are proposing 31 units here. Most of the units will be 2 bedrooms and above. There will be 1 or 2 one-bedroom units, but otherwise it's all 2s with the upper level units being duplexed into the penthouse. So those will be 3-bedroom units. So they're larger units. We're not doing a bunch of really small studios, in case you're wondering there. We are not seeking any zoning relief for this site. This is all what would be considered by right under the zoning regulations. Parking, I know that's always an issue in some of these neighborhoods, and we are proposing an underground parking garage here, so we will be providing relatively significant parking ratio there. I know it's always a concern. Trash, I heard some of the rat talk earlier. We will have a trash room in that first level below grade, and it'll be picked up by private trash service. And then bike room will be a large bike room in that first level below grade as well. And then from a design standpoint, which is really the main reason why we're here, we are looking at a brick building. It just seems to make sense from a material just relative to the prominence of the location of the site, and then the pairing with the Ashley that's just off the screen here to the right. We are looking to break down the building horizontally along 18th Street into 4 kind of modules or different sections there. One thing we cannot do is bay projections on 18th Street because the sidewalks are too narrow there. Usually you see some articulation or some bays there, so we can't really project out into public space there because of the narrowness of the sidewalk there. So one thing that we're looking at is creating these sort of window groupings or these frames, these sort of larger frames around some of the windows to create almost like a shadow box idea there. It's like a junior bay projection there, really to just add some articulation and some detail to that facade. The front door, we're looking to put that on the California Street side. Part of the reason is that it's got a slightly more residential feel than the 18th Street side. It's not like your doors opening right up onto 18th Street. there's a little bit of public space there. That's the green space that allow a little bit of a softer entrance into the building. And just viewed from the 18th Street side here, we are proposing roof decks for the upper units. We are proposing a solar array on the upper level, and then along the rear of the building on the alley elevation, we would transition from brick around the corner to more of a cement panel material for that elevation. So our hearing is scheduled for July 24th with HPRB. I think that was a question at the beginning. We did get some initial feedback from Ann Brockett at HPO, and overall they were supportive of the height and the massing of the building and the general design of the project. One bit of feedback we did receive is that they wanted to see a little bit more articulation or depth along the 18th Street side. They recognize that we can't do bay projections, but we're working with them as maybe trying to do recessed balconies or some of those kinds of things to add a little bit more depth to that facade. And one thing the other bit of feedback they provided was looking to articulate more of an engagement of the streetscape along 18th Street, how the building meets the street and the sidewalk there. If there's anything we could do to help articulate that that intersection, make it a little more pedestrian friendly, which we are currently working on. I'm going to give you guys a quick sneak peek of something. It's a draft, but we were looking at adding some of these bays, recessing the bays here on these units up above, and then looking at articulating this the streetscape, almost treating it like storefront, or like the idea of storefront along that side. We're still developing this, so it's a little bit of a sneak peek, but I wanted to present that to you guys so you can see where we're headed with some of that. But with that, I mean, that's the project. I went through it pretty quick, so I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. But obviously, we're here to seek support from the ANC. Thank you.
Appreciate that. That was a really good presentation. Commissioners, any questions, comments? We don't have anyone that represents this particular SMD here tonight, but we have this. It's just bad timing. I think on the 12th is the earliest they can be sworn in. So we'll do our best to compensate. That address a lot of the, I guess, typical concerns that come with HPRB applications. There's one question that was in, maybe there's a few, at least one that I've seen. I'll go through the others. From someone in attendance, I'm not sure. I mean, depending on who you're asking, parking is not necessarily under the purview of historical preservation, but in any case,
sure.
Number of parking spaces, can you speak to how many are estimated to be included in this property?
Yeah, we're looking at around 25 to 28. We're refining that right now, so it's going to be, not quite one per unit, but closer to that.
And have you had any opportunity to discuss or just be in any contact with any of the commercial property owners nearby?
Yeah, the clients have reached out to Jack Rose. They've at my understanding is they've been supportive. Jack Rose is not a contributing building to the historic district. That building is a relatively new building. So, and from a historic preservation standpoint, it's not impactful in that sense. But we, just as friendly neighbors, we've certainly reached out.
Thank you. There's one question. I'll do my best to answer it, but if I'm missing something, anyone can fill in. Asking what is needed from HPRB. Basically, I don't actually know where the specific threshold is. So if you do know, maybe chime in. But if you're making significant adjustments to something that's in the public view from a street or an alley, what that's in a zone that's allocated as a historic preservation district in the District of Columbia, which in Adams Morgan there are at least two. I know there's two in my SMD. You have to go through that process of having the Historic Preservation Review Board say essentially that they feel that the plans are not I forget the specific term of art, but that it's not completely deviating from the aesthetics, et cetera, from the adjacent built structure in the area. So they come to ANC as one of the mechanisms to get community support to make sure that people that live here had some opportunity to speak their opinions, whether positive, negative, or neutral, on what the proposed project is. So hopefully that's helpful. Commissioner Olson.
I just want to go on record that's saying that, like, unless there's any reason that the existing building had any kind of historical significance that a member of the community can point to, then I have no problem with this. I mean, personally, I think our historic districts are overblown and overinflated, and the idea that the existing building that's there now, I don't know exactly what it is, but I have no sense that there's any historical meaning associated with it. So I don't know if you can speak to any of that, if there's any specific content to the historical element beyond questions about architecture that the board are going to ask you.
Yeah, what they look at is just appropriateness for the historic district, particularly with a new construction building. And that's the existing building that's there has no, it doesn't contribute to the historic district, is considering a non-contributing structure, and it was heavily renovated not that long ago, actually, a few years ago when they built al fresco. So it's just a new building in the historic district. So there's less context as if we were if we're doing an alteration of a historically significant building, would be a different set of credentials that they would evaluate the property under. This one, they just sort of look at mostly scale, massing, materials, that kind of appropriateness for the historic district.
One more question from an attendee. Answer this how you feel appropriate. Well, maybe there's two. The Mint Fitness, and there used to be a former CVS. We actually recently supported an application for amendment to zoning language for that. So that owner was on a previous meeting of ours. You had any opportunity to speak to them, just because that's a nearby property and they might have some ideas?
I don't know if we have. I haven't connected with the Mint folks, but I will connect with my clients and see if we can arrange a meeting with them. I'd be interested to know what they're doing there, and may give us some.
Yeah, I know they're trying to do something just because there's vacant commercial properties, but I'm not sure if it's related to like the structural integrity of the buildings or anything. Looks like a couple other questions popped up from one or more people. Environmental concerns with the former gas station. I mean, before it was al fresco, it was something, completely different. Is that something that you've had to take into account?
Yeah, we have. There's been a phase 1 already, environmental study, and I think that they have. I don't know if they needed the phase 2. There was a significant amount of that we've looked into already, and it would have come up with the previous development. But yes, it's on our radar for sure.
All right, I think that takes care of the questions from attendees. Commissioners, anything else to add? All right, I'll move to support this application. Can I get a second for the last second?
Second.
Vote. All right, any last thoughts, commissioners? All right, all those in favor of supporting this application for Historic Preservation Review Board, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thanks for being here, Charles. I again appreciate
Thank you. Appreciate you guys making time for me tonight.
Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again later.
All right.
All right, so we're close to done. Next item, and I don't remember if anyone is best suited to introduce this, but there is a request for a traffic study on the 2000 block of 19th Street Northwest. I think Commissioner Swanson Palmer, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and Emma Aarons, if you're on and you want to speak on this, please feel free. But I'm happy to give a quick overview. So this is in front of Oyster Adams, the Adams campus. And so parents have just been seeing a lot of congestion during pickup and drop off times, feels unsafe, and really are just worried about students crossing the street. Hi, Emma. I'm gonna let Emma speak for just a moment about why this is necessary, but we're seeking a letter of support from our ANC for this, in hopes that they will do a traffic study here.
Thanks. I'll be brief. My name is Emma Aarons. I'm a parent at Oyster Adams Bilingual School. I'm here representing the PTA of the school and the LSAT. And the school has been under construction the last 2 years, so it'll be opening up this fall. We'll have about 400 students plus. They actually might be moving another grade over from the lower campus, so that's going to be a lot of students. About half come from in boundary and half come from out of boundary. And it's really problematic, the 19th Street in front of the building. Just from 2 years ago, there aren't enough room. There's not enough room for 2 lanes. There are kids crossing in the middle of the block. It's very complicated block. So we're requesting that there be a traffic safety assessment for the sake of the safety of the kids.
Thank you for that, and appreciate waiting till after 9 to speak on this. I know it's summer, but still a busy time of year. Commissioners, any questions, comments on this? I mean, in my mind, requesting a traffic study is pretty non-threatening. One thing I will add, if someone could maybe, this is like a half-developed thought, but I remember, I think, at some point discussing with someone, that's incredibly vague, I know, that there may or may not be some sort of movement to do something similar at this area. I forget. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I forget. Was that an ANC related function that I remember having this conversation? I just don't remember with whom. Okay, we'll just disregard my comment. But I know that this has been like an area of discussion, so we can obviously do our best to push for some more data to try to get some things. Because I mean, it's been in the past. I guess it's no one on this current commission, but at one point in time, we had discussed ways to try to get push supporting the legislation that Councilmember Nadeau was putting forward for safe paths to school. I might be misremembering the name, and then also kind of related ways to make sure that pedestrian infrastructure is safer, because there's a lot of kids that go through that area, including one kid who is a constituent of mine who was like stalked on the bus right there. It was a very strange situation that was in the local press. So like a lot of different things going on in terms of pedestrian safety. So I want to make sure that that is at the forefront of what we're advocating for. Any last questions, comments? I'll move that we support and request it, or sorry, I'll move that we request this traffic study. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you again for waiting, and hopefully we'll get a study and then ideally get the results to lead to some sort of change, because yeah, as you noted, there's a lot of movement going on there, especially after construction subsides.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure, and have a good evening. Okay, we made it. We're on the last item of the night. A resolution, and this again did not come from a committee, so we'll address it as such. A resolution calling for people-centered development of the potentially soon-to-be former RFK Stadium site. Commissioner Olson, I think you're the original authors, right? You want to introduce this resolution, please?
Yeah, I invite people to read the text if you're able, but the quick summary is that the DC Mayor and the DC City Council are working with the Washington Commanders to redevelop this site. The proposals and the deals that have been circulating will likely cost the DC taxpayer a lot of money, and in general, on the order of billions of dollars. In general, construction of stadiums does not benefit cities economically. This has been a trend that's been going now for decades, that sports teams are able to extract these sort of public investment from cities, promise a payback, and then that economic payback never reappear for the city. So the different DC councilors are falling in different places on this. This resolution encourages DC Council to seek a deal structure that is as economically favorable for the city, or should I say, as less economically disfavorable as possible, while also prioritizing the sort of things that I was elected on a mandate for, things like affordable housing, improved transit, as much as possible, the development of small parcels so that we don't have sort of a big empty feeling mega project, but something that fits into the urban landscape. Yeah, happy to take questions on this. I don't know, Peter, I turn back to you about how we organize this sort of discussion.
I mean, it can be up to us. I mean, like, commissioners, we go first. Any questions, comments on this resolution text? Anyone in attendance as well, if you want to put your hand up, if you're here to chime in on this particular item, this would be an opportunity. I'll give my unsolicited, sort of concise like thoughts on this. I mean, at one point in time, I was probably a bit more eager to be like strongly opposed to just turning this into a place for a football stadium that's probably gonna have way more parking than a city center-ish location needs. At this point in time, I'm being a bit more pragmatic and realizing that an unpaid volunteer elected official position probably won't outweigh the billions of dollars that is on the other side of the conversation. I'm aware of that. And it's also not in Ward 1 or ANC 1C, though, as the resolution text points out, just because something's not physically in the area you represent doesn't mean that it's not still affecting it. And this will probably have some pretty direct effects through taxation as well as kind of the indirect costs of essentially redeveloping a pretty significant chunk of Eastern DC for the most part. So I would begrudgingly say that I'm not at the moment interested in trying to say don't ever build anything here. I could be convinced of otherwise, but I'm not at that point right now. But I think the best case scenario is trying to get the most out of the deal as we can as a city, which hopefully enough council members, in my personal opinion, will be able to get that leverage and get something to happen. It's obviously a point of tension between various parties of if this process is going quickly enough or if it should go more slowly. That's another conversation, I suppose. But like I said, my unsolicited thoughts, Commissioner Fucci, though.
Yeah, I obviously dropped some notes in on Scott's resolution. I have very strong opinions about stadiums, having worked in professional sports for years and years. And I signed up actually to testify at the hearing on July 29th about it. Happy to, like, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I know there was a question asking about reports on proving or disproving the economic benefits. And so happy to talk about that if anybody wants to reach out to me. Like, that's the kind of thing that I actually love talking about. But yeah, I think there's a lot to it. So obviously, I'm very supportive.
I just think kind of a random link, but I mean, does anyone have any? This is a thing that we hear a lot, which is, and I taught sports geography for a while, so I would talk about this in lectures. I'm just curious if anyone has any thoughts in attendance. I know we've dwindled our numbers, but any thoughts on just the, I guess, proof of whether there's an economic impact, positive, negative, from these stadiums? Because most of the academic literature I'm familiar with says best case, it's not too terrible, but there's not particularly great. The promises that are usually associated with making very large stadiums are usually outweighed by the disappointment that occurs after the thing is actually built, and that cities often get kind of exploited for paying a lot of the upfront cost. And we were told at one point that council members were going to fight hard to put zero public dollars towards it. That has quickly shifted. So it seems like it's going to be more than zero public dollars. But is anyone, David, do you have any comments on that? It could be a longer answer offline about too.
Oh yeah, we can offline in more specifics, but I think the folks that the city has hired, or at least Mayor Bowser has hired to provide those numbers, because that's, you'll get the numbers that show that it is an economic benefit are the ones that Mayor Bowser has provided. But they also made a mistake with their numbers around Audi Field. They overestimated certain things about that as well, and so I think you just balance both the numbers and kind of, I think everybody has to kind of come to their own conclusions. But as you noted, like the academic studies like that are theoretically supposed to be relatively objective have all pointed to it, it doesn't come anywhere near it. I think the only thing that is really the biggest point up for debate for me is that obviously Ward 7, Ward 8, those areas need anchor businesses and it's hard to get them. But if you offered this kind of sweetheart deal to another company that actually can provide, your 365 days a week business, you're going to get more out of it.
One other question for you or for anyone who's able to answer this. Parking, because NFL stadiums are kind of unique in a lot of different ways compared to like an NBA or NHL stadium, for example. Parking minimums, is there any? I've heard before, I'm not particularly knowledgeable in this, that the NFL has like square footage or parking space minimums or something. Basically, tailgating is factored into how much space is around the stadium that won't be used for anything but tailgating and maybe using a parking lot for other reasons. Does anyone know any specific or even like vague numbers on that? I can do my own research. I should, but I was just curious. Okay, I'm gonna check. No questions from the attendees who have made it this far.
I posted the book by one of my grad school professors who did look into doing case studies of looking into the funding of sports stadiums, and it's pretty, cities lose out. It's very, like, I think Nats Field hasn't even paid for itself yet, and Nats Field is right now often used as a current example of a pro, but it for most cities it does not pan out.
And I've had a little bit of experience reading and I guess researching like mega events as well. Like that's one of the justifications that this kind of see is like I think there's a lot of talk of just basically realizing the World Cup's not coming to DC and people in the administration going, oh my God, we missed out on this thing. We don't want to miss out on future things that makes us a world-class city. And having big events like that is what does it. But the people who I know who have researched that say there's a reason that a lot of cities actually, like in Boston, I think they had a bid for the Olympics, and then they had enough protesters that said a bid was a bad idea that they pulled the bid. And I think other cities have kind of followed suit. Apparently not Los Angeles, of course, but yeah, there's a lot of costs incurred. I could go on for probably way too long about this, so we'll find another platform for me to vent about this topic, and we'll stay on point. Any last thoughts on this resolution? All right, I've made a lot of motions. Anyone want to move anything? If not, I can do so. No pressure.
Go make the motion.
I'll move to I guess what's the proper term? To send this resolution to council, basically, and the mayor. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Any last thoughts, attendees, commissioners? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll send it. We'll see if our 5-person vote can make the difference in the future of RFK. If not, we tried our best, and we'll see what the next steps are.
I'm also planning to send to the council members and some of the other ANCs that were involved, as well as the Cities Not Stadium, some of the community groups. I asked around, and no other ANCs apparently have written resolutions like this, and that was part of my motivation. Sorry, go ahead.
That is great. That's it. We got it through. I think hopefully our longest meeting of the year. We'll see. But appreciate everyone that took the time to be here tonight, and hope you have a good evening and a good Independence Day weekend.